Rafael Fiziev has finally addressed fans regarding the circumstances that forced him to withdraw from his highly anticipated fight against former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira. The announcement left many wondering what had gone wrong in his training camp, and now Fiziev has provided clarity on his health situation. In a recent social media post, Fiziev revealed that the setback was caused by a knee injury. While the injury itself is serious enough to prevent him from competing, he reassured fans that, thankfully, surgery will not be required this time. However, given the history of problems with the same knee, Fiziev made the difficult but necessary decision to step away and prioritize his recovery. Many people have been asking me what happened, why I had to pull out of the fight. Fiziev began, I injured my knee again. Alhamdulillah, I don't need surgery, but I cannot push at 100%. I can't wrestle, I can't spar, and I can't perform the way I need to in camp. So right now, the focus has to be on healing up. The lightweight contender explained that this decision was not taken lightly. Fighting Charles Oliveira in Brazil was something he had been looking forward to, describing it as a dream opportunity. Competing against a former champion in his home country would have been a career-defining moment, but Fiziev acknowledged that fighting with a compromised knee would be reckless and dangerous. This was supposed to be my dream fight in Brazil, Fiziev said with visible disappointment, but I have already had a couple of surgeries on this knee. To go into another fight injured, knowing there's a big risk of making the situation worse, it just doesn't make sense. A third surgery on the same knee would not be good. I have to step back and let it heal. Fiziev also made it clear that his withdrawal should not be seen as a long-term setback. While he admitted he will be out for the next couple of months, he remains optimistic about returning to action once his recovery is complete. He expressed gratitude for the support he has received from fans and emphasized his determination to come back stronger. This is not the end, he continued. It's just a small break. I need a few months to recover, and then I'll be back in the fight. I promise you all that I will return, and when I do, I will be ready to give everything in the octagon. For Fiziev, the decision to pull out is about ensuring longevity in the sport and not jeopardizing his future. At just 31 years old, he still has plenty of time to make a run at the lightweight title. The UFC, fans, and fellow fighters will undoubtedly be keeping a close eye on his recovery and his eventual return to competition. In the meantime, Fiziev's focus is singular: heal, recover, and come back stronger than ever. Before moving on to the next news, we have a quick request for you. We're always working to improve our content and truly value your support. If you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon, it would mean a lot to us. That way, you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier is widely regarded as one of the greatest fighters in UFC history, a man whose legacy is defined by world championships, memorable battles, and an unmatched presence inside the octagon. Yet, even for legends, certain moments follow them throughout their careers, not always for glory, but sometimes for controversy. For Cormier, one of those unforgettable moments came at UFC 210, in what has since been labeled Towel Gate. At the time, Cormier was preparing for his highly anticipated light heavyweight title defense against Anthony "Rumble" Johnson. Like every fighter, he had to first conquer the scale before stepping into the cage. During his initial weigh-in attempt, however, Cormier came in overweight. The scene shocked fans, media, and officials alike. Instead of stepping away to cut additional pounds, Cormier returned just moments later, this time leaning on a simple tool, the privacy towel. With his hands strategically placed on the towel, his weight miraculously dropped, and he hit the official 205-pound limit without taking the time to actually lose more weight. The incident immediately sparked debate. Was it gamesmanship, a loophole, or outright cheating? For years, the moment lingered, with critics and fans replaying the footage, questioning whether DC had taken advantage of a gray area in the weigh-in process. Now, years later, Cormier has opened up about what really happened during that infamous event. Speaking on Aljamain Sterling's YouTube channel, DC didn't shy away from addressing the situation. Instead, he placed the blame squarely on a familiar name in MMA, Luke Rockhold. Cormier revealed that the weight cut for UFC 210 had been especially brutal. He recalled training at Buffalo University, running on a treadmill near a cold metal shed door. The draft of icy air made the process even harder, and his body was struggling. At that point, Cormier was still 5 pounds over the limit, and he knew more work was needed. He admitted, I tried to quit. I was hurting bad. I was like, yo, this is a bad one. But then came Luke Rockhold, his longtime teammate and friend. According to Cormier, Rockhold wasn't focused on the grind of the weight cut. Instead, he was eager to leave the gym because he had other plans that night. Rockhold convinced Cormier to stop cutting cutting early, reassuring him that it would be fine. Cormier admitted that, in his exhausted state, he was looking for someone to give him permission to stop. Everyone else was insisting he keep going, but when Rockhold said, "He's fine, let him go," Cormier took the easy way out. Looking back, Cormier laughed at how quickly he listened. "I looked at Luke and said, yo, we should listen to Luke. And so I listened, and left." That decision, he acknowledged, directly led to the most embarrassing moment of his career. While Towelgate remains one of the most controversial weigh-in incidents in UFC history, Cormier now sees it with a mix of regret and humor. At the time, it brought him criticism, but years later, it has turned into a story that brings plenty of laughs. Move on to another news. When it comes to blockbuster UFC fights, few names generate buzz like Conor McGregor. His potential return to the Octagon, especially on the historic UFC White House card planned for next summer, has been the talk of the MMA world, but not everyone is sold on the hype. UFC veteran Matt Brown recently weighed in on the situation, and he made it clear, he isn't happy with the idea of McGregor facing Michael Chandler on such a monumental stage. According to Brown, the matchup between McGregor and Chandler is nothing more than a spectacle, designed to sell tickets rather than determine any true relevance in the lightweight division. Speaking on the Fighter vs. the Writer podcast, Brown didn't hold back. He acknowledged that while the fight would generate headlines and conversations, in terms of sporting merit, it carries little weight. Michael Chandler vs. Conor McGregor is a completely irrelevant fight, Brown said flatly. It doesn't impact the title picture. It doesn't move the rankings. It does nothing other than, maybe, sell tickets. McGregor, once the sport's biggest superstar, hasn't been active in recent years. His last fight ended in a devastating leg injury against Dustin Poirier in 2021, and since then, he's spent more time making headlines outside the cage than inside it. Brown noted that McGregor no longer seems interested in fighting regularly, which makes it difficult to take his return seriously. For him, the Irishman's star power has diminished, even if his name still carries immense drawing power. On the other side, Chandler, though exciting and always willing to put on a show, has struggled in the UFC. With a record of just 2 wins and 5 losses in the promotion, Chandler is far from title contention. For Brown, that makes this fight even harder to justify as anything other than a spectacle. Neither guy is anywhere close to a championship fight, Brown emphasized, so why should we act like this matchup has significance in the sport? Still, Brown acknowledged the UFC's strategy. The promotion clearly wants the White House card to be remembered as one of the biggest and most historic events in combat sports history. For that, they need names that transcend the sport, and Conor McGregor is still that figure, whether fans love him or hate him. They're going the spectacle route, Brown admitted. They want it to be the biggest, most memorable card in history, and I think that I'm okay with that part of it. Conor helped get the UFC to where it is today. You've got to give respect where it's due. That said, Brown was honest about his own feelings as a fan. For me personally, it doesn't excite me, he said. I don't care to watch Conor vs. Chandler. It's not that great of a fight to me, honestly. While Michael Chandler continues to insist he'll be the man standing across from McGregor on the White House lawn, Brown and many fans remain skeptical. For them, talk of McGregor's return won't feel real until the Irishman actually walks into the octagon and the cage door closes. Until then, it's all speculation, and for Brown, not much more than a ticket-selling gimmick. Move on to another news. Reinier de Ridder has his sights firmly set on the most prestigious prize in the UFC middleweight division, the championship belt currently held by Khamzat Chimaev. The Dutch grappler and former One Championship double champion is eager to prove himself on the biggest stage, and his ambition is to challenge Boers for UFC gold before the holy month of Ramadan. Originally, de Ridder was scheduled to face Anthony Hernandez in a pivotal middleweight showdown. However, fate took a different turn. Hernandez suffered a serious injury and was forced to withdraw, opening the door for Brendan Allen to step in as the replacement opponent. The matchup is now confirmed as the main event for UFC Vancouver, set to take place on October 18th. This fight carries high stakes for de Ridder. While Allen is a dangerous replacement with a well-rounded game and surging momentum, a win for de Ridder would catapult him directly into the title conversation. Yet the road to Chimaev is not straightforward. Nassourdine Imavov is also circling the title picture, creating a strong rivalry between him and de Ridder. Both men are seen as leading contenders, and UFC matchmakers face a difficult decision in determining who deserves the next crack at the belt. De Ridder, however, has made his intentions crystal clear. In a recent interview with MMA Junkie, he expressed his determination to earn a title shot before Ramadan. I don't want to wait. I want to line myself up to fight maybe before Ramadan. Ramadan. If Khamzat wants to fight before Ramadan, I want to be ready for that time. I want to fight right now, and the UFC wanted to keep me on the fight in Vancouver, so it worked out that way. His urgency reflects not just a desire to stay active but also his recognition of the limited opportunities fighters get to climb to the top. Delivering a statement performance in Vancouver is crucial if he wants to leapfrog the competition. On the other side of the equation, Khamzat Chimaev remains the man to beat. The reigning champion has established himself as one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport, with a unique blend of relentless wrestling and explosive striking. His dominance has left many opponents helpless, unable to withstand the pressure he brings inside the cage. Chimaev has also teased a potential appearance at the historic UFC White House event next summer, further cementing his position as one of the sport's most marketable stars. But to dethrone Chimaev, challengers must bring more than just hype. His wrestling is a proven game-changer, often overwhelming opponents from the opening bell. As analysts point out, only fighters with elite grappling backgrounds or impeccable defensive wrestling stand a chance at neutralizing his strengths. One such name is Magomed Ankalaev, whose calculated and disciplined style could pose a unique challenge if the two were ever to meet inside the octagon. For Rainier de Ridder, though, the focus remains on the immediate task, defeating Brendan Allen in Vancouver. With just weeks to prepare, the stakes couldn't be higher. A dominant performance would not only silence doubts about his transition into the UFC but also make his case undeniable as the rightful challenger to Khamzat Chimaev's middleweight crown. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier has weighed in on the ongoing debate surrounding Conor McGregor's long-anticipated return to the UFC, and this time, he believes there is a real possibility of the Irish superstar making his comeback at the historic UFC White House event. For years, McGregor has teased fans with promises of stepping back into the octagon. Time and again, he has claimed that he would return, yet each time fight week arrived, McGregor remained absent. This pattern has led to widespread skepticism among fans and analysts alike, but according to Cormier, circumstances feel different now. During a recent discussion, Cormier explained that the White House card might be the stage that finally brings McGregor back. He's told us time and time again that he would be there, but he hasn't shown up, Cormier said. I believe this time there's a stronger possibility because of all the time that has passed. The White House is going to be that big of a deal for him. Cormier went on to highlight another major factor, public perception. Once considered the biggest star in combat sports, McGregor's aura has dimmed after years of inactivity and controversy outside the cage. According to Cormier, this fading spotlight could be the push McGregor needs to finally return. I think the biggest factor in why Conor McGregor may fight is because no one believes him anymore, Cormier explained. Some of that shine is starting to wear off. It doesn't matter how much money you have, when you're a guy that reached his level of stardom, when you're someone who thrives on attention, and that spotlight starts to fade, you want to come back and do what you did before. Cormier believes McGregor doesn't necessarily need to make a triumphant championship run or deliver a career-defining performance. Instead, what matters most is simply stepping back into the cage and reminding the world of his presence. It doesn't have to be a big win, Cormier said. It just has to be a fight that propels him back into the spotlight. That's what he craves, and that's what will bring him back. He also noted how McGregor's media influence has shifted. There was a time when just putting Conor in a thumbnail guaranteed 100,000 views, Cormier pointed out. It didn't matter what the story was, people wanted to hear about him. But now, it doesn't matter if you put him in a thumbnail or not. People are kind of over it. The hype isn't what it once was. But Cormier believes this lull won't last long. The moment McGregor signs a contract, begins a fight camp, and truly commits to competing, the world will turn its attention back to him. The second he's really preparing to fight, he'll be right back where he needs to be, Cormier said. That's when he'll be at his most entertaining, his most outrageous, and his most marketable, because that spotlight will once again belong to him. For Daniel Cormier, it's not about whether McGregor still wants to compete at the highest level, it's about whether he still craves the spotlight. And in Cormier's eyes, that hunger for attention all but guarantees that Conor McGregor will step foot inside the octagon at the UFC White House event. Move on to another news. Dana White has once again managed to stir up the MMA community, this time without even making a major announcement. The UFC president, known for his habit of dropping big news on social media, had fans buzzing after a cryptic post on his Instagram story earlier this week. In the story, White shared a photo of himself casually smoking a cigar. Alongside the image, he wrote, "I have a feeling today is going to be an incredible day." For a fanbase conditioned to expect huge reveals whenever White teases something online, online. This single post was enough to send speculation into overdrive. Almost immediately, MMA social media lit up with theories. Some fans believed White was about to announce a blockbuster fight, perhaps the long-rumored return of Conor McGregor, or the confirmation of Jon Jones' next heavyweight title defense. Others guessed it could be related to the historic UFC White House event, an unprecedented spectacle that has been generating non-stop headlines. A few even speculated about possible signings from outside the UFC, imagining what stars from other promotions could be on the verge of jumping ship. The anticipation grew rapidly throughout the day, with fans refreshing their feeds and media outlets preparing to break the potential story. But just as quickly as the excitement built, Dana White pulled the rug out from under everyone. In a follow-up post, he bluntly admitted that he had jumped the gun. "Today is going to be a regular day," White wrote, retracting his earlier statement. With that, the frenzy came crashing down. While the moment may have seemed trivial, it perfectly highlighted Dana White's unique influence over the MMA community. Unlike most executives in professional sports, White has developed a reputation for being both a promoter and a showman. His cryptic hints and sudden announcements often carry just as much weight as official press releases. Fans and fighters alike hang on his words, ready to dissect every sentence for clues about the UFC's future direction. This latest incident is a reminder of just how much power White has in shaping the conversation. A simple cigar photo and a vague caption were enough to dominate MMA discourse for hours. Even when the news turned out to be nothing, people were still talking about it, proof that White understands how to keep the spotlight firmly on the UFC, whether or not he has breaking news to share. For fighters, this kind of hype can be both exciting and frustrating. On one hand, it keeps the UFC constantly in the headlines. On the other, it fuels speculation that often overshadows actual events and upcoming fights. Many athletes have voiced concerns in the past about big announcements stealing attention from their performances. Still, fans can't help but take the bait. The community's reaction this time shows that even after decades at the helm, Dana White knows how to generate buzz with just a few words. So while September the 23rd of May have ended up being just a regular day, the anticipation surrounding White's post was anything but ordinary. It serves as yet another reminder, in the world of MMA, whenever Dana White speaks, or even teases, people listen. Paste your text here or select text, then apply effect.